Good evening. This is Maestro Cortella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite podcast. Today, we have a 3v3 on Garvus Ice Gate. Our first player is maximumbk, playing as the Warp Spider Exarch. This is a teleporting ranged commander, also does decent damage in melee, and has some crazy late-game war gears. His first teammate is Billbotnik, playing as the Commissar Lord. This is a slightly tanky melee hero who comes with a free energy shield and the ability to inspire his troops by executing them. Finally, on the blue team, we have Steve D, playing as Sindri Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is a spell-casting hero. He shoots out powerful doom bolts and has spells for teleportation, manipulation, and control. On the other team, first of all, we've got zeetorq, who's been definitely making a lot of waves lately. He is playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. This is a tanky melee hero in Terminator armor. Not very good for disrupting melee, not as much as the other tanky melee heroes, but just very good for generally being tanky. Next up, we've got Thibix Magnus, playing as yet another Grey Knight Bro Captain. I like his scheme that he's got going on, especially with the flames. And then finally, we have Sentinel Enforcer, playing as the Orc Commando Knob. This is an infiltrating Orc hero, subtle by Orc standards, has a variety of guns, bombs, and knives. Alright then, so Garvus Ice Gate. I'm actually a big fan of this map, even though, I mean, it's just another version of Argus. I like the snow theme, although I do know the reason why these maps aren't very popular. Since whenever you select a unit, usually your selection thing is light blue. It can be hard to see on these snow maps. So this particular version of Argus is not very favored because of that, especially when there is at least two other versions. I think two? At least one other version. There are other versions of this map that can be played where that is not an issue. Anyway, Sluggas go down pretty quickly. No, Sluggas do not go down. Sluggas wipe the guardsmen, so the guardsmen go down. And it looks like up here, well, blue team seems to be doing pretty well. We did have a WA banner go up, and it's toughing it out, but overall, I think the blue team's going to be winning on this side. It's a little bit of a close call. The Sentinel is still here, and I would think that would be ultimately what's going to tip things in favor of the blue team. And the Grey Knights are the last one standing, the Strike Squad rather. I think they should just retreat out of there before they lose a model. They're just trying to soft pedal back. And they actually managed to not lose a model and all that. But I don't think they're going to do a whole lot with only about 300 of their health. And that WA banner goes down. Couple that with a downed Grey Knight Bro Captain for Thibix Magnus. And I would say that's definitely a pretty clear victory for the blue team on top. They've even got the VP lead. Looks like Steve D is doing pretty well on the bottom as well, managing to push forward even with a relatively small army. And I don't think he's going to be able to hold here for very long with zeetorq coming out with Purgation, which should do a lot of damage to the heretics. Oh, this is actually now looking really, really bad for Steve D. Yeah, and he has no way he's going to stop the Bro Captain with only a single squad of Chaos Space Marines and the Grenade Launcher Heretics. He's going to need a little bit more range firepower if he wants to deal with this Bro Captain, especially now that he has the Unending Purge, which is a very interesting war gear. It increases the Bro Captain's health regeneration and his speed, but only when his health drops below 50%. And that's there was definitely no war gear like that before Elite Mod, and it was something that was really kind of crafted uniquely to the Bro Captain to try to basically diversify the Grey Knights, make them a little bit different from the rest of the races in this game. Wow, so I think I was going to say the Commando Knob seemed to jump out of infiltration a little prematurely there, and overall I don't know about this approach by the red team. They're walking right in front of a Guardian Weapon team. They do manage to get some disruption, but they're still taking a lot of damage. This Pain Boy needs to be extra careful. He does not want to go down from these Howling Banshees. Howling Banshees seem to be doing fairly well considering how much more of the red team there is here, but now they're in trouble. Where did the Howling Banshees even go? Alright, they're retreating. They're in quite a bit of trouble. I think they will get out of there alive just because, well, they're only mostly melee units right here, or mostly range units rather. And despite the early victory by the blue team up top, that was a pretty decisive counterattack by the red team. I feel like they stumbled a little bit at the start with the Commando Knob coming out of infiltration a little bit early and then just retreating without actually doing anything. As well as the fact that they seemed to be just running into the Guardian weapon team. But I think once they had the Guardian weapon team disrupted by the grenades, that actually just kind of paved the way for the red team to win that engagement up top. And they're now pressing their advantage by punishing with a generator bash. Especially, we have a purgation squad right here. Not a whole lot of hit points, only 2 out of 3 models, but it's a flamer unit, so they just want to keep it out on the field so that it can bash as quickly as possible. And that will be a full power farm wipe by the red team. Well played. But meanwhile, it looks like... Oh, I see. So I guess I see what happened. Billbotnik actually moved away from the top, and that left, I believe, maximumbk a little vulnerable since he was by himself against 2. And now it is actually Billbotnik and Stev D who are doubling the Grey Knights, but here comes some Orc aid. We have the Pain Boy as well as some Slugger Boys with their burner already. Now, I think they should be able to hold. I don't think these Slugger Boys are not going to be able to do much on approach. Even with Pain Boy support, that is not good news for the Slugger Boys. Just going to get stomped, and they just walked into a trap, approaching way too many things, and there was a source of disruption. But here comes the support from the Stormtroopers and the Grey Knights. Right now, these Inquisitorial Stormtroopers are doing a lot of damage unanswered because both Stev D and Billbotnik are focusing entirely on the Orcs. Finally, they turn to face the Grey Knights, but it might be a little too late, and I think this should actually be enough to give the engagement to zeetorq. Alright, he's moving back, although here is some more support, and the Catachan Devils are actually something that will be fantastic against the Bro Captain, since they will do good damage whether they are shooting him in ranged or whether they actually engage him in melee. They just have to be a little concerned about a special attack, so I think they would be better off just shooting him in range, but otherwise their damage is pretty good, and if they can get him to retreat and force melee, they'll do a lot of damage to him as well. So a lot of back and forth in this lane, courtesy of, well, 2 different armies here on both sides. Here come the Grey Knights. The Purgation managed to suppress the Catachan Devils. Catachan Devils need to retreat out of there before they lose any more models. They lost 1. I was wondering if they were going to lose any more from that grenade barrage on retreat, but it doesn't happen. And meanwhile, we now have the blue team, wow, a lot of counterattacks going up top, so now it's a maximumbk getting the full generator bash instead. We have a new power going down for the blue team, courtesy of maximumbk. He put down those Eldar power generators, but he's about to get flanked by the Grey Knights. This is Thibix Magnus. I got it right that time. Thibix Magnus and his, I was going to say the Guardian weapon team was in a little bit of trouble, but good awareness to turn and face it towards the Grey Knights. But now he's just straight up going to get overwhelmed, and he doesn't have this squad of Slugger Boys detected. He needs to start moving. I mean, not that he has any way of detecting the Slugger Boys, but he should just be able to see that he is really just overwhelmed and outnumbered and needs to get out of here before his losses are just too great. As it is, his Howling Banshees are still in a bit of trouble. Alright, they won't die, but they might lose a few models on retreat. 1 Banshee model goes down. If anything, pretty lucky to only lose 1 Banshee model, considering he was retreating through Burna Sluggas as well as a Strike Squad. Alright, we do have... Wow, so now Stev D is committing all the way to making a lane switch all the way up to the top, but he does not have the manpower for it. He's got just 2 squads of heretics, and they really do not stand a chance against the force we see here coming from Sentinel Enforcer. And Stev D also kind of has his army a little spread out, since he had both of his heretics up top. We have the Raptors jumping in on the Purgation squad. That is a very nice use of them. If we take a look at these Raptors, they are quite interesting with their bat fin or bat wing, since bats don't have fins, on top of their jump pack. And looks like a full retreat from, this time from zeetorq. And, oh, what is the Commissar Lord doing all the way up here? Anyway, we have a Grey Knight Rhino, this one equipped with a las cannon turret, and I feel like he only got this in Tier 2, like he didn't have this around in Tier 1, I've only just seen it now, and I immediately see it with a las cannon turret as well as the armor, the vehicle armor upgrade. So, this is, I've often kind of given, I don't think I've given the las cannon Rhino enough credit. It can damage infantry, and it's versatile because it can do damage to both infantry as well as vehicles. And, I mean, as far as Tier 2 is concerned, the damage it does with its las cannon is actually quite sufficient. Ooh, but we see a melt-a-pistol from the Raptor champion, but those Raptors are a little bit low on health, and there's just too much support. And looks like Steve D realizes that he's overwhelmed and just retreats on out of there. Sorcerer's still out on the field, shoots some Doom Bolts to kind of cover their retreat. And now it looks like, do we have all of the players concentrated right here? No, I would say we just have both of the Grey Knights concentrated here. Banshees are charging into way too much stuff. A lot of bunched up Grey Knights. They need, yeah, I don't know, they need something, a little more disruption. Because head-on, they are not going to take that, especially with a smaller force. Here is the Sentinel. Sentinel does have the missile launcher. That would be a great choice. I bet that's going to do massive damage. All right, it looks like only 2 missiles hit. I feel like it should have been more. If you do interrupt the Sentinel, if you do tell the Sentinel to move while it's in the middle of a barrage, you will cut the barrage short. Although, I mean, sometimes if you gotta move the Sentinel to keep it alive, you gotta move it. But yeah, he's only shooting like 1 at a time, and normally it's not supposed to do that. I believe the normal barrage is, yeah, 3 missiles. 3 missiles. Not very good for single target damage, but very, very good for area of effect damage. Oh my god, this is not a good engagement for Billbotnik. He's going to lose the Sentinel. He's going to lose the squad of Guardsmen. Alright, I think the Sentinel is... No. They're going to get the Sentinel. Because if the Sluggers don't get it, then the Las Cannon Rhino would get it. And that's a shame, because that Sentinel... It's weird, because the Sentinel, it really changes its role, or maybe it's not its role, but just like the way you would describe it really changes from Tier 1 to Tier 2. Tier 1, it's a low DPS unit, but it's good because it has so much survivability as well as bleed resistance. And because you can just keep it alive and inflict into 9 bleed. In Tier 2, the Sentinel becomes a very high damage unit with the missile launcher, but it's so hard to keep it alive that you need to be extremely careful with it. And it doesn't really... Like, it goes from being like a tough, durable unit that does damage slowly over time to being a high damage, high value glass cannon unit. Anyway, a lot of things going on. Wraithguard out on the field. These guys do massive damage with their Wraith cannons. But we do have a triple... Is this a triple Guardsman build? Yeah, triple Guardsman from Billbotnik. Looks like they've got plasma guns. They have their Sergeant, but no Commissar. This is still quite a lot of firepower, especially since all of them have plasma. They'll be quite effective against the Grey Knights, as well as, honestly, even against the Stormtroopers. And when I said Grey Knights, I meant, like, power-armored Grey Knights. The Stormtroopers aren't really Grey Knights, even though they're fighting for the Grey Knights. We also have a triple Stormtrooper build from zeetorq, as well as some generator bashing going on. I think he needs to turn his attention to units rather than structures, though. He's about to get hit by a barrage, and he's going to lose one of the Stormtroopers. One of the Stormtroopers goes down. We do have a... Wow, look at all the damage that happened right there on these Guardsmen. I didn't even see what he got hit by. Oh, he must have gotten hit by a Terminator Librarian Smite. Terminator Librarian is a pretty nice unit. You do have to be careful with him, but you get another unsuppressible and unknockdownable single entity, and he's got some useful abilities. We saw him use... Well, we didn't see him use Smite, but we saw the effects of Smite. And we did see him use Sanctuary, which is now definitely one of the melee counter abilities that Grey Knight has. So, and of course, sometimes I forget this Rhino actually is a transport. And I think he just put the Stormtroopers as well as the Purgation inside, drove them over here so that he could just get a quick, easy generator bash. Should be able to finish off the whole generator farm, but he does need to be careful because some Howling Banshees are charging in, but they have no Exarch. So this could actually be a little bit of a, well, I don't know how well the Banshees are going to do. They will do some light damage to the Rhino. It's not like they won't do any damage. And we see the Rhino taking damage, but not nearly as much as if they had their Exarch with the Executioner Spear. And we also have a Warp Spider Exarch. He does not have the heavy melee power blades. Instead, he has the heavy gauge Death Spinner, which is a very strong warrior against single entities that can be knocked down, which means it's not very effective against the Brother Captain. Anyway, down here we've got the Guardsmen being chased down again. I feel like these Guardsmen are always in trouble. They are really being true Guardsmen, being just fed into the meat grinder. And lucky not to get their entire squads wiped. Terminator Librarian, yeah, would be in a huge amount of trouble right there, getting so close to that Dreadnought as well as the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer, even though he should generally lose head-on to something like a Terminator Librarian. He's just got some nice damage right now with the Sword of Flame. Now, this Chaos Dreadnought right here would actually do pretty well against most of these units, but he does have to fear the Vindicare Assassin as well as the Purgation Squad. Going to be doing some damage to it. We do have some heretics retreating through the meat grinder, and that is the Slugger Boys. And this Dreadnought, I think it will be fine, but if the not Creeping Barrage, the Frenzied Barrage is, yeah, alright, there goes the Frenzied Barrage. I was going to say, I thought he would use it more on the Purgation as well as the Vindicare Assassin. Let's not miss this Nemesis Vortex as well as the rocks. Lots of areas of effect stuff going on. The Nemesis Vortex goes off as well as the rocks crashing down on a bunch of guardsmen. These guardsmen are truly serving the Emperor today. One of the squads finally does go down. Definitely paying for it with their lives, as any true guardsman would. I mean, look at all the guardsmen right here, and for some reason they still have a buffer. That should be a debuff effect, but that enables us to very easily see all those dead guardsmen. That lingering debuff effect. Well, not a lingering effect, a lingering indicator, since doubtlessly they are not still getting debuffed. Anyway, Commissar Lord right here is now rather kitted out with the Xenos Power Claw as well as Stubbornness. Might want to get an armor upgrade as well, just because of how relatively fragile the Commissar is. It's nice to have any armor upgrade to make him a little tankier. I feel like the Commissar Lord finally gets to like a decent level of tankiness once he's like got armor and once he's really leveled up. And I mean, also if you have Stubbornness, which he does have Stubbornness, and that does help out a lot. Has to watch out for Zap from the Weird Boy. That is I feel like I haven't seen the Zap ability that much lately, but that may just be because I haven't been playing it. Oh, wow, and he just loses the squad. Oh, and the Weird Boy goes down. But Zap is a very interesting ability. It shoots like this, I don't know, electrical impulse or electrical anomaly thing that kind of clings to an enemy, and it will switch when it gets close to another unit. And I believe when it switches, that's when it actually does its damage. So it can do pretty well to punish like someone who's blobbed up. Alright, the Rhino has to respect these Wraith Guard. The Wraith Guard can definitely take out the Rhino in mere seconds. It can also take out Stormtroopers. It can really... the Wraith Guard can really kill anything in mere seconds. Anyway, another Nemesis Vortex. Maybe... Oh, he's going for the Chaos Space Marines. I thought he was going to go to try to wipe out the Heretics, but instead he goes for the Chaos Space Marines, and... Stev D does not see it. He only loses one model, though. I think it would have been better spent maybe trying to wipe off the Heretics. But I don't know. Anyway, we have some kind of indicator. It is not an Eldritch, but a Singularity. Pulls in several units, kills quite a few Shooter Boy models, and the Shooter Knob might not get out of there alive because he doesn't retreat him soon enough. And I believe, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. We've got a Pain Boy charging in. Pain Boy going to tie up the Wraith Guard, or rather, the Bro Captain is already on the Wraith Guard, but the Bro Captain not going to live much longer, doesn't have a whole lot of health, and a looted tank goes down as well, and I did not even honestly see from what. Nevertheless, it looks like, well, the red team, I was going to say, taking the top, but here is the answer from Stev D. I don't know. Oh, but so many retreats. That's definitely going to put the red team in a bad position, and the path blocking from the Raptors is making it so that Rhino couldn't get away from the missiles from the Chaos Dreadnought. So actually, very, very nice move by Stev D. I think that was pretty much a one engagement for the red team that Stev D completely turned around at the right time, targeting the right units. He did well overall, but he does not want to run his Raptors into Grey Knight Terminators, especially when he's going to lose the Raptors at this point. It's a close call. But yeah, I mean, those Raptors, even if they were at full health, should not be going headlong into Grey Knight Terminators. Grey Knight Terminators, very, very powerful melee unit with halberds that do power melee damage and splash damage. So they really do quite a bit of damage. And pretty much there's very few infantry units that actually want to tackle with Grey Knight Terminators. Commissar Lord going to go down again. I feel like this is at least the second time, if not more. Quite possibly more. But yeah, I mean, these Grey Knight Terminators, I don't think there are very, very few units that actually want to tackle with them in melee. So I think you would mainly want to deal with them with some high damage ranged. Things like this, the Chaos Dreadnought, the Wraith Guard, those are all things that would be very, very effective against the Grey Knight Terminators. And we see the Grey Knight Terminators are now actually very low on health. And I think a lot of that had to do with the Chaos Dreadnought, possibly with the Wraith Guard as well. Looks like it's all going down right now. The Terminator Librarian is in quite a bit of trouble. His retreat needs to start, or he's going to get killed by the Chaos Dreadnought. Banshees in retreat, they don't go for him. And they did actually manage to, oh no, the Banshees are done! Wow, they really overstayed their welcome. I never would have predicted that they would have gone down in that game, but they had enough time where they should have retreated out of there. Anyway, whoa, did those Grey Knight Terminators teleport in? Alright, they are done, absolutely done. We do have some ward from the Grey Knight Bro Captain using the Nemesis Warding Staff. Actually, he just might get those Grey Knights out of there. Very, very well done. Wow. Did not see that rocket run! Oh my god, that's definitely killing a few different squads. Hard to even tell what. And an Eldritch on top of that. And do we see zeetorq moving out of the way? I think he mostly, if not entirely, dodged that Eldritch. So that was very good reactions by him. I think he cut it a little bit close. And now his Grey Knight Dreadnought has a plasma cannon, and it's targeting the Guardsman, but here comes the Leman Russ. Leman Russ definitely going to be a hard counter to this Grey Knight Dreadnought. To be honest, a Vanquisher Leman Russ also definitely going to hard counter this particular looted tank. The looted tank does not have the advantage of range, damage, or health. The Leman Russ in its current form has an advantage over all of those, although the looted tank did have a little bit of support, although there was also a Fire Prism targeting the looted tank as well. If he can just get sight on the looted tank, he can finish it off, and he does. Very, very nice. I'm pretty sure he was doing that intentionally. He got sight with things like his Spider Exarch and managed to finish off the Fire Prism with that. And, I mean, the Fire Prism has a number of uses, and long-range vehicle sniping is definitely something it can do. The Fire Prism definitely counts as AV. It is, of course, a very fragile unit, but also a very game-changing unit, so it kind of goes along with just kind of how Eldar are with everything. Very powerful, very dangerous in a lot of ways, but also very fragile, and the Fire Prism is kind of the vehicle form of that. Wow, that was a beautiful denial of, wow, that was an incredible play by zeetorq right there. Not only denied the revive on the Commissar Lord, even managed to get the incapacitation on the Spider Exarch using that Sanctuary ability. Is it Sanctuary? I believe it's Sanctuary. But yeah, that's an ability. You get that dome, and it pretty much does knockback to anything that's inside of it or that walks into it. So it knocked the Spider Exarch down, got him off the revive, and then since he was down, that was plenty of time for the Grey Knight Bro Captain to finish him off. Very, very well played. Leman Russ sitting right here, not enough support, even though it is a very dominant unit at the moment. There goes the Right of Knee Crosshairs ability from the Commando knob, as well as some regular missiles or regular rockets to follow it up. Excuse me. Here's another Rox. Wow, he's really just saving his red for the Rox. And we have another Leman Russ as well. Oh no, this Leman Russ is not moving though. Took a lot of damage from the Rox, but luckily the Leman Russes are so tough, and in Imperial Abyss, nukes all over the place. But yeah, he's getting another Vanquisher Leman Russ. This one does not have the elite tank crew yet. And we've got armies on both sides looking a little thin, and oh, a Sluggo went down for Sentinel and Forester as well, going right through the center of the Imperial Abyss. The Imperial Abyss being extremely powerful in the center, and incredibly weak outside of the center. So it's really just has that power concentrated in a very, very small area. It still does some light damage in the surrounding areas, but very, very light damage. Although the idea is that the hooks from the Imperial Abyss, or the chains, are supposed to pull units into the center. Right into the Eye of Terror. Blue team is now pressing the advantage. They have the advantage in VPs. I would say they also have the advantage in, certainly in their army size. Composition might be a little questionable, but I would say that with their army composition, they have the advantage as well with the kind of the long-range artillery of these Leman Russes as well as the Fire Prism. Yeah, in fact, the Grey Knight Dreadnought is actually in really quite serious trouble since we've got the 2 Leman Russes as well as the Fire Prism definitely going to hard counter it, but that Fire Prism cannot afford to be that far up close. And it seems like Red Team is now pressing, and although I would give Blue Team the compositional advantage, they do need to micro back, because they aren't really doing high DPS at the moment, but they should just win out on things like micro. With things like Grey Knight Terminators should not be able to catch up to Leman Russes. This particular Leman Russ needs to be very careful. It's up a little too far forward. And we also have the Chaos Terminators. Chaos Terminators they also need to be careful as well. Now, it seems like the Red Team is right now kind of trying to brute force their way forward. And although the Blue Team should have the compositional advantage, they need to respect that. And wow, a battle wagon might actually be denying their compositional advantage a little bit. Might even force them to retreat away from the support of this repair bunker. But either way, they need to be very, very careful. Why is he losing his Chaos Terminators? Those guys should be way out of there. And this Fire Prism needs to move back even more. And now with the positioning of the positioning of the Fire Prism is now really, really bad. Oh no, this is not good at all. He's definitely going to lose the Fire Prism right here. Even though he could be microing more, so unfortunately not well played by maximumbk in that particular engagement. I don't know if he had his attention over here much at all, but it's not like much is going on here. And the Red Team making a pretty nice play to actually capture the Blue Team's natural to stay in this game. They're at a VP deficit, 225 to 73. But yeah, the Blue Team really needed to respect that advance just a little bit more. The Red Team pretty much just brute forced their way with superior numbers through that. I mean, the Leman Russes are still alive. Shouldn't be too hard for Billbotnik to put down another repair bunker. And now we have a Land Raider Phobos as well. Alright, the Battle Wagon needs to be a little bit careful. We do have quite a bit of AV between Tank Bust as well as a Commando Knob and a Vindicator Assassin, so there's definitely quite a bit of AV for the Red Team. Blue Team does manage to white out their own natural VP, so that it's now evened out at a 1-to-1. I don't know what those Wraith Guard were even doing there. Probably just came from the side, hoping that they could, like, snipe a few shots, but it ended up going really, really poorly for them. And some more VP denial from the Red Team, and that's definitely one of the things you need to do. It's one of the strategies in the game that if it's not in your power to hold a VP or to capture a VP, at the very least you need to deny it to your opponent. And there are a lot of strategies just for even straight up denying a VP to your opponent without even necessarily taking it. Alright, with the Red Team, or the Blue Team now pretty fortified by their natural, we see that the Commando Knob is making a play for the top. That's a smart play, especially with maximumbk. I don't really know where he is right now. He's got a lot of units, but he's not really placed up top anymore. It's still a double cap for the Blue Team, but not for long, because the Commando Knob will get that decap. And the Red Team even making a play for the triple cap. Sorcerer teleporting into way too much stuff. That's a huge overcommitment by the Sorcerer, and that's definitely... We have an orbital bombardment, definitely capturing some Chaos Space Marines, I believe, capturing some other things. A lot of destruction going down, and that's managing to keep the Red Team in this game, press the advantage. They're managing to take the Blue Team's natural, so some really nice plays by the Red Team this late in the game. That orbital, I mean, that's also just one of the great uses of an orbital late game. Even if you're not necessarily going to wipe much with the orbital, using it to force your opponent off at a critical time when they need to cold their VPs or retake their VPs. Even with the blue team's significant advantage in countable VPs, the red team is at a huge advantage right now in terms of their positioning, and just in terms of where they stand in this game. They have a triple cap. When you have a triple cap, VPs count down very, very quickly. They will not have that VP advantage for much longer. In fact, I don't think, even if they manage to stay in this game, I'm pretty sure the next time they manage to take the VPs, it won't actually be in their favor. And to be honest, I'm not even sure they will. The blue team now looking really, really, just looking in a lot of trouble. VP's almost evened out in favor of the red team. They're even moving up. I think the Paladins are going to target the Commissar. That would be the smart choice. The smart money is on targeting the Commissar, but instead they go for the Predator. So then the smart money would be on having the Grey Knight Terminators go for the Commissar. Commissar needed to activate his energy shield as well, so he does not even get that VP. And this is actually definitely pretty clearly going to go in the red team's favor at this point. Even though the game hasn't quite finished yet, yeah, I mean, the force we have right here just isn't enough to take on the battle wagon. That's a very nice grenade, but or was it? It looked like it was right in the middle of everything. Maybe it was too much in the middle of everything and not enough actually on them. But VPs are definitely at the point of no return. Terminators spawned and capturing the point, but getting denied by Plasma Cannon Dreadnoughts. Very, very nice. I mean, even the Plasma Cannon Dreadnoughts right now serving a VP denial role. I mean, of course, Plasma Cannons have always served that role. That's definitely one of their big perks. All right, so actually, the red team take it. They take it from the. They grab victory from the clutches of defeat. Is that the expression? I forget. I feel like we have a really good shot right here. Let's take a look at that. Oh my, that's nice. Take a look at that. All right. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.